Hello and welcome to For Future Generations, episode 20. It is Sunday. Oh no, let's stop that.
Why not? Let's do it again.
Play again. It was so nice. We'll play it twice. But it is Sunday, the 15th of June. Happy Father's Day. Happy Lord's Day to all the gents out there. Happy to have you along. And it is a wonderful, wonderful day. I'll start with some local news. Before I introduce my co-host here, but my fifth child, my daughter, was born on Friday. So speaking of Father's Day, it is good to be a dad. I am joined, as always, by my brilliant co-host, Sean. Sean, how are you, man?
I'm good. It is Trinity Sunday, so it is not only Father's Day, but it is also Son's Day and Holy Spirit's Day. So that's right.
That's right. All
Very
right.
good. Trinity Sunday is pretty cool. We do the entire Athanasian Creed, which takes a while, but we get through the entire thing in a responsive reading, and we only do it a couple times a year, so it's always cool to do.
Yeah, it's I think a lot of modern churches would do well.
Oh yeah,
to spend more time in the creeds and confessions. We have the creeds and confessions. Like my church is a 1689 church. We hold to the London Baptist Confession, but we preached through it like 10 years ago, and very quickly. But I would love to get back into that. And but today is Father's Day, so happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. We are happy to have you all along, especially the single dads. I bet some of y'all were thinking I was about to say the single moms, but no, we don't play that game. Sorry, single moms, you are not a dad, and you should remedy that because your child needs a dad. But anyway, we have a call-in show, so if you are wanting to call in and be a part of the show, there should be a link anywhere where you see this stream posted. And I will have to go into the YouTube and drop a link in the comments so that some people can find their way here. But if you want to call in and chat with us about Father's Day, about Lord's Day, about Trinity Sunday, about the fact that you stubbed your toe on the coffee table the 5th time this week, call in and chat with us, and we will commiserate. We will celebrate with you.
Before we get to the callers, though, I had something that I wanted to address. I had a guy, this guy named Chris Perrone, I think is the name, Perone, on Facebook. He put out, we're friends on Facebook. He put a post out, and I responded to it, and he was kind of nasty, and then he just stopped responding. So I'm going to use this platform to put him on blast. Because I thought this was really interesting. It has to do with a lot of things we're talking about at the moment. He says, I am white, but because I have a Christian worldview, I will inevitably produce a culture that is different to whites who have a non-Christian worldview. Because I have a Christian worldview, I will naturally gravitate to those who share my Christian worldview, for they are my people. This is the beauty of gospel unity. I can care less if you share my racial features, if you're willing to stand side by side with me to fight for the cause of Christ's kingdom, then let's go for it. And may God scatter those who would put an obstacle in the way of that. So he got blown up in the comments. The usual suspects popped in, and we all were like, what are you talking about? I mean, it was a pretty disconnected rant, but a lot of the usual stuff, so it's always useful to go through this stuff. So the first part, he's saying that, essentially atheists or pagan whites are going to have a different culture from Christian whites. Okay, granted.
So
it's not going to be...
question. Australia is a pretty pagan nation. By numbers. Canada is about the same as the United States. England is very unchurched. Are the cultures of those countries more similar to the United States than, let's say, the Congo which has like an 80% Christianity rate.
Or was it Haiti that has a
Yeah,
90?
Haiti.
Yeah.
Haiti's like 96% Christian. Is the United States more like Haiti or Australia or Great Britain or Canada? It's always interesting to me when people bring this up, and the thing I always have. I mean, um, are you able to screen share his post? Because I think it's
I would very much
bizarre.
like to. Let me see what I can
But
do.
there was an interesting point that I wanted to make, which is you can read his post backwards, and it actually makes a little more sense. Where he says, I am white, but I'm a Christian. Therefore, my culture is going to be different than people who are white who are not Christian. Well, if you were to flip that around, it would actually be more true, which is I am a Christian, but I'm white. And my culture, consequently, my society that I build and live in is going to be different than Christian cultures that are Japanese, Tahitian. The thing is, culture is a byproduct of race. It's a byproduct of people and place. So, um, just a very bizarre thing to say. Technically true. I mean, if part of your culture is sacrificing to Odin, it's going to be different than a culture that does not sacrifice to Odin. But
Can you see this now?
yeah. Let's add that.
There you go. This is a screenshot, so I'm not able to scroll or whatever.
Yep,
so it's got some random stuff there.
Yeah, it's a bit small, but can you read it? So this is the beauty of gospel unity. All right, what is the beauty? I can care less if you share my racial features. That's the beautiful beauty of gospel unity. So, according to his argument, the gospel sets us free from racial features. If you want to stand side by side with me to fight for the cause of Christ's kingdom, then let's go for it. I mean, the second part of that, I'm absolutely on board with, but I don't see how the first part logically follows. Where's the connection? Where's the through line here?
Well, and that was the thing I pointed out was what he says in the beginning makes the first two paragraphs have nothing to do with the rest of it. The first part of it is essentially summed up as Christian whites have a different culture from other whites. Yeah, it's slightly different. I don't think it's as different as the culture of other races, as we said, like with places like Haiti or whatever. And then the next paragraph, because I have a Christian worldview, I'll naturally gravitate to those who share my Christian worldview, for they are my people. I understand what you mean by they are my people. We're connected by something more important than blood relation. Like I get that you're more connected with, a Christian old man than your own father, maybe, if he's not a Christian. Like I understand what you're saying, but you're just connected in a different way. And I tend to gravitate towards, I have white neighbors that I like that aren't Christians. I still like them. I still like having them as my neighbors. I still like hanging out with them. I think a lot of this has to do with people don't have a personality outside of reading the Reformers. Like they don't have a culture outside of just the,
being a Theo bro.
Yeah, they go to church and then they immediately get online and start arguing theology, and that's their whole. That's everything you need to know about them. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where a lot of that comes from, because if you have a culture like just music, like
dogs at the baseball park,
or like music,
that is a cultural phenomenon. Yeah, that is a byproduct of a particular people, which is racial, in a particular place, which is the United States. It's baseball, despite the fact that it has gone global, has a starting point and it has an origin, and that origin is important to what baseball is.
Yeah, and so like the rest of this doesn't really follow. I don't care if you share my racial features. Okay, well that's not what race is. That's not what culture is. It's not just about what you look like. If you're willing to stand side by side with me to fight for the cause of Christ's kingdom, okay, well I could do that without virtue signaling that I'm as much, I have more in common with the what was the Doug Wilson crazy example that he gave?
I have more in common with a black African woman in Angola than I have with my non-Christian neighbor.
That's probably not true. If you were to just do like count on your fingers how many things you have in common, and then obviously they're different things. So that was the whole. Yeah. But yeah, this it's just it didn't.
Well, I mean, you hit the nail on the head when you called it virtue signaling, because ultimately that's what it is. It's your you are telling other people, hey, I'm a good person, look at me, because I have disowned my inheritance. And within the setting of Father's Day, it's an important thing to remember. Your race is something that was given to you by your ancestors. It's something that was established by God, and it's something to be valued as such. That doesn't mean yours is necessarily any better than anyone else's, but it's yours. Just like my wife. I mean, my wife is better than some and not as good as others, but I love her better than all the rest because she's mine. And that's not a bad thing. I like my house. I love my kids. And it's okay to have preference for my own. And I'm not winning any brownie points by going to a cocktail party and being like, well, just so you know, it doesn't matter that she's my wife. I'm just as happy with anybody else's wife as long as we're both Christians. It's obviously doesn't make any sense in that context. So why is it okay to do it in one place and not in another? And the answer is because we have a society that is completely on its head.
And speaking of that, that's a good transition into the second thing that I did want to talk about was about Father's Day. I know we were talking about kind of talking about our own fathers a little bit. And I said, you know what? I'm going to wear my grandfather's hat. My grandfather died 20 years ago now, but he was a big 49er fan. So we're just talking about cultural things. American football is very much only American. I think we maybe play one game a year in England now just to be a little different, to attempt to spread it. But he hitchhiked when he was a teenager. I think he was like 14 or something like that. He hitchhiked from Alabama to California. And,
wow.
And he wanted to get away from like a evil stepmother type situation. And so that's why he lived in California, was because he hitchhiked as a teenager from Alabama. And so, yeah, I'm wearing his hat. He drove a truck mostly. So he worked, according to my grandma, he worked at Kellogg's, the Kellogg's factory, until he could have enough money to be a truck driver. And then he did that for like his whole life. And then the trucking company went under. And you know what he did at the end of his life? He mowed lawns. All these people are like, what are we going to do down
if you send all the Mexicans home, who's going to mow your grass?
Yeah, apparently my geriatric grandfather who can still mow lawns in the hot heat. So.
I mean, my best friend and I mow lawns on the side just as a kind of a side hustle.
Yeah.
And it's like everywhere we go, I mean, he's not doing it for money. He's retired. I'm doing it just to have a little spending money to spend on toys, to go toward my boats and guns and type fund. But, everywhere we go, it's strange because we're the only white guys. Everybody else is Hispanic of some sort. But, gotta raise the old flag. Gotta make a showing. Yeah. So my my ancestor story is pretty interesting. I mean, as most of you all know, I'm SCV. As a matter of fact, I'm not repping very well. Let me move those out of the way. There you go. So there you go, right there. And so my ancestors were in the Civil War, but my grandfather specifically uh, was born in Galveston, which is out by the coast. It's an island. It's about 3 hours from here. But what's interesting is in a roundabout way, when my parents got married, my dad got stationed at a military base not far from where I live. And we moved out away from the city, not quite out to the country, but to a smaller town further away. And turns out a lot of my family are here. My mom's, my grandfather was born on Galveston, but his father was born in Holland, Texas, which is about 30 minutes away from me, out in the middle of nowhere. But so I've got cousins all around, cousins everywhere, and I run into them all the time. And there is a distinct look that they have. We talk about it. I was talking about it today with my grandmother, the woolly look. I walked into HEB, which is a grocery store here, and as I was walking in, I was on the phone, but I would have stopped and chatted if I had seen somebody who looked like a woolly. And I was, if I hadn't been on the phone with an important call, I would have stopped him and said, "Hey, are you a woolly?" Because I just knew. I just knew from looking at him. And the fact that you can do that you can walk around in a town in the modern day, see somebody and know, I'm related to that guy. That's a cool thing. And that's a good thing. And that's a racial thing. I mean, it's more specific than that because it's familial, but that is essentially what race is. I can look at somebody and be like, hey, that guy's from Scandinavia, that guy's Norse, or that guy's Swede. I can do that. And God designed us in such a way that we have certain traits. And it's not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing. There's that discussion right now going around, it's a couple weeks old, but people talking about, I want grandkids who look like me. And all these people freaking out about it. That's so racist. How can you say you want grandchildren who look like you? My guy, every time one of our children is born, my fifth child was born on Friday, like I said. She came out, and the first thing everybody says as they're coming over and visiting and wanting to see the baby is they say, oh, she's got your nose. Oh, look at those eyebrows. Yep. Those are your wife's eyebrows. Oh, look, she doesn't have your chin. She has your wife's chin. Mm-hmm. Or look, she looks just like her granddad. Look, she looks so much like Mimi. All these observations.
I was just having that conversation with my in-laws on FaceTime, like right before we started recording.
Yeah, and it's like, you know what? That's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. God gave us these things, and they're a good thing.
Yeah, I think what's to kind of sum up what you're saying, for better or worse, when you become a father, you are passing on yourself, and you are passing on the history that led to you, and I mean, that's something that you have to experience before you really understand fully. Like anyone can understand what I'm saying in English, but I mean, like, you don't really understand, like, oh man, like, I'm this dude's father. Like this, but there's a great line in the show Sons of Anarchy where the guy's kid is born. It's like one of the first episodes. He says, "Hey, I don't know how to break this to you, but I'm your old man."
Mm-hmm.
Like, just like that. I always thought that was a really great line because, I mean, he's being negative about it, but it's kind of like, "Hey, kid, for better or for worse, this is you.
This
what
is where
you're
you
looking
came
at,
from.
This is it."
Yeah.
And it's not something that Will Spencer knows what we're talking about, but he'll sure go online and try to act like he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah. Well, it's there's another funny thing. So as has been mentioned in the comments already, I shaved my beard.
Yeah.
I do that every time we have a baby. Just let the kids see what I look like without a beard. Let the newborn baby see me in a full face. But as I was trimming off my beard today, it was a strange feeling because it's been 2 years. 2 years of beard growth without seeing what was underneath it. And I took it off and I looked up in the mirror and I saw my uncle staring back at me from the mirror. And he was just visiting yesterday. And it was a strange feeling. I've always looked like him. I've always had his mannerisms and his voice. And I'm like his little clone. I'm about 12 years younger than him. And he started getting old. His face started kind of shaping and changing. And I was like, see, I don't look like him anymore. And then I took my beard off. I was like, oh, shoot. Guess I'm getting old too because I'm starting to look like he looks. And so he's not my dad, but he's my dad's brother. And it's cool. It's cool to look like him. It's fun to have a little doppelganger. So if you live in North Austin and you see some guy walking around that looks like me, who doesn't have a beard, it's probably my uncle. Go harass him. Don't go harass him.
People always told me I look just like my uncle growing up.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I was at Castro Village Bowl one time, and I was with my grandma. This is some years back, and she was in whatever league she was in, and these women came up and saw me, and I was like 18 or something like that. And these women come up, they're like, he looks just like Wayne. And I was like, yeah, everyone always said that, right? Well, my grandma later was like, yeah, those two girls always had a crush on your uncle.
Oh,
I'm like, that is that kind of party. Okay. Well,
oh no. Run away.
Yeah, they're like, fresh meat. Here we go.
All right. Okie doke. Well,
let's do comments.
Let's do some comments, and then let's drop in to start picking up some callers here. So first off, we have Thaddeus Johnson. He says, who is that? That's Geoffrey. That's
Jeff,
me. I've just I've taken the hair off, but do not worry, it will come back eventually. Jaded Geek, hitchhiking only works in a high trust society. That practice died in my lifetime.
Yes.
Yeah. It's I had a car breakdown late last year, and I was outside of Dallas, and I walked 2 miles to the nearest gas station to buy some oil, hoping that if I dumped some oil on top of the pistons, they wouldn't freeze in place. They did. And got to the gas station. I started asking people to hitchhike back to my truck because I wasn't looking forward to a 2 mile walk back. Although it was less hot, it was fall, but it was still Texas heat. So it was still like 90 degrees outside. And it cooled off to about 87, which isn't too bad for walking. But I had to ask 4 people before I got somebody who gave me a ride back. And the conversation on the ride back to my truck was just about the fact that people don't give each other rides anymore. And I was like, we live in a society where it's kind of tough, especially since it was me and a buddy. So it was 2 young guys, 2 young white guys. But I had 6 quarts of oil in a shopping bag. So I had some bona fides trying to get back to the car. But anyway, it is dead. Thad says, sorry, I missed the intro. Geoffrey has that I just had a new kid face. Smart move. Tiny hands always know where to reach and pull. Hey, there's that too.
That is correct.
There's that too. And it won't stop her. She will still grab hold of a lip or a nostril, and she might get a head full or a handful of head hair or maybe even a nose hair if I don't keep those things trimmed. But tell you what, those little fingers. The other Paul, howdy sir, says, OMG, Sean, your new baby boy looks adorable. Congratulations.
That's why I was making a face. I don't know who.
He's talking about me. He's saying I'm your new baby boy.
Oh, okay. I got you. Yeah.
I am not. I am not the new baby. I am the one who had a baby, and it was a girl. Yeah. For those of you who are wondering, the links for the call-in show are in the description or in the chats of the video wherever you find it. And if you want to drop in, click those. You will drop into our guest room, and we will get you situated. All right.
We have had a caller sitting in since before we started recording. We actually got to do a little bit of rapping before we started recording with him. So
Yeah.
he's ready.
So without further ado, here's our first caller. This is Alex Oliar. Alex, how are you, man? You can talk now.
Oh, you are muted.
Yeah, I muted myself. That's my fault. Here I was trying to be smart because in the last 20 minutes that you guys have been talking, my daughter has come downstairs like 5 times trying to tell me she doesn't want to go to bed.
Oh, no. Yeah, you and me both, girly. All right. So, Alex, how are you, man?
I'm doing great. Doing well. I figured since I comment all the time on these streams, I might as well show up in one of them as well.
Yeah, glad to have you. So did you have a particular topic you wanted to bring to the table, some reminiscing about your dad or some lessons in fatherhood that you picked up?
Sure. So I think I'd like to talk about, so last week you guys did the topic of the kind of positive vision for the new Christian right.
Yeah.
And I think there's 2 things that kind of fit into some of the things you guys talked about, but I think at least that I've seen kind of from our guys, as you might say. I think the first one is what you guys are saying right now, where just the patriarchy piece. We kind of you guys kind of talked around it like quite a bit, but I think the new Christian right's committed to patriarchy specifically, not complementarianism, or certainly not egal, as we know, as we constantly make fun of. But yeah, I think that's worth mentioning. That's a distinct version of it for sure.
I just want to say I understand why the term complementarianism first came into being used, because when I think of patriarchy, I do think of complementary gender roles. So it's interesting that complementarianism became this other thing, because
it kind of got hijacked, that word.
Yeah, because if you don't believe that there are, well, okay, let me say the positive way. If you believe that there are complementary gender roles, then you believe that those are different gender roles.
Right. So
I honestly, I don't understand how that term ever got hijacked, because I think that when I explain I like patriarchy, a lot of people say, oh, you just want to rule over women. But I don't think that's the best frame for it. And if complementarianism hadn't been hijacked, that would probably be the term I would like to use, because I feel like I'm always talking about having my wife be the what the Apostle Paul calls the house despot, the oika despotos. That is the she handles the bills. Like, the bills get paid by her because she doesn't have a job outside the home. So it's I have the job outside the home, and then she handles everything inside the house. And to me, that's complementarian. I mean, that you would think that's what that is. And sometimes she has good ideas, and I understand that. Oh, okay, I should have actually listened to that advice.
Yeah.
So I think a lot
of your wife. That's not. Yeah. That is not an anti-patriarchy position to heed the counsel of your wife.
Right.
But also, it's important to note that heeding the counsel of your wife is not the same thing as being badgered by your wife.
Yeah.
I'm in a similar situation. My wife is a full-time stay-at-home mom, and I am the breadwinner for the family. We don't make as much money as we could if both of us were working. And society has done everything they can. Whoever they is, have done everything they can to make it so that you have to have a 2-income house. Well, you can make it work with a lot of help and with a lot of trying. But my wife is an at-home despot. She is the tyrant of the house. She tells the kids what to do. I'm at work, and she's the one making sure the chores gets done. She's the one making sure the food gets made. She's the one who does the shopping trips. And I'm the one who makes the money. I'm the one who pays the taxes. I'm the one who pays the credit card bills. But she's the one who makes sure everything happens in the home. And without her, it would be a very different thing.
It's interesting that what you're saying, like with the kids, is like, because some of your kids are boys, but they're not in charge. So like patriarchy doesn't mean that every man in the home is in charge. Right. Only one man in the home is in charge. So like
patri.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think what happens is that, like you mentioned, the term problem. There's a lot of other terms I think that have been hijacked as well that are really great descriptions for what we actually think and believe, but when you say them, mean something completely different to most people. So we've kind of created these additional words along the way. I think with patriarchy, there's got to be one final decision maker. There's someone that's leading the vision and the direction of the home. There's not two equals. And I think that's kind of dovetails with a lot of things that you guys talked about last week. But I think it's an important distinction to kind of bring out.
Well, only one of the couple have a veto vote.
Exactly.
And a lot of couples don't realize it, but the wife is the one who has the veto vote. Ultimately, she's the one who holds the veto power. And if the wife holds the veto power, the man is not the monarch.
Right.
He is not the ruler of his own home. She is. That's not a patriarchy.
Otherwise, you have the 90s sitcom dad situation. It probably goes way back before that, but I gotta ask permission from the boss, or
yeah, definitely.
But I mean, if we're talking about from like a government standpoint, yeah, I would like all women to be out of government. I think I was vindicated once again in that when I went out to the Weatherford, Texas No Kings protest on Saturday. Me and my camp commander at the SCD, we went out there, and Weatherford has an amazing 100-year-old Confederate memorial, and we just wanted to make sure these knuckleheads didn't do anything to it. So we went out there for that. So their No Kings protest got interrupted by two kings. It was pretty interesting. Like a bunch of us had like Trump flags, and I took some pictures from that I've already seen passing around the internet. So if you see those pictures, I put them up on Facebook and Twitter. But you see some of the signs and how ridiculous they are. But it was a bunch of old women. It was a bunch of suffragette physiognomy, old women that need to be sent back to the nursing home. Sorry, well, that got really mean.
Yeah. in my town, we also have a Confederate monument. We actually have a statue, which is not uncommon for county seats in this area to have a Confederate statue on the lawn. And it has been vandalized before, but it has been completely recovered. It was just spray paint, and it was easily removed. But we had a No Kings protest here in my town as well. And a buddy of mine drove by. It was the day after my daughter was born, so I wasn't up to getting out. But he drove by and took a video just to make sure they weren't up to no good and destroying stuff. And it was 5 people. 5 people, all under the age of 30. They all looked female. 3 of them definitely were. 2 of them looked like they were probably born male, but looked like if a strong wind would probably blow them away. So not exactly. They're not sending their best. So
I love this comment from my boy Thaddeus here.
Thaddeus,
I have an inexplicable urge for monarchy after this weekend. Don't we all? It always happens like that. You get democracy, and democracy obviously cannot sustain itself, and then it erupts into chaos, and the people yearn for a king. the other Paul just jumping in no canes.
No kangs.
Yeah.
Hey, I can get behind that.
I can get behind. You know what? That's the next protest. Let's do that protest. Every inner city across America, we're gonna have a no canes problem.
Yeah. No. Yeah, it's the circle of life. There was I don't remember if it was on Twitter or on Facebook, but somebody posted a conversation between Teddy Roosevelt and the Austrian emperor. And the emperor of Austria essentially was saying, my job is to protect the people of Austria from their politicians. Mm-hmm. And the point he was making is that these politicians, all these democratically elected politicians, were doing everything they could to bring about World War I. Mm-hmm. They were dead set on the meat grinder. They wanted it to happen. And meanwhile, the monarchs, those who were around, who were not, effectively abdicated like the King of England, but the monarchs were doing what they could to prevent the World War. So you had the Emperor of Austria, you had the Kaiser in Germany, both trying to prevent a war, and you had France and Poland and England who were just spoiling for a fight, and Russia as well. Despite the fact that they had a monarch, he was very, very keen on having a war, and it was not a good situation. But I remember, this is kind of unrelated, but I remember a while back seeing a breakdown of nations that had gone to war, and evaluating, what was the monarch, a male or a female? And it turns out female monarchs want to go to war a lot more than male ones do.
Yeah. Probably about once every 28 days or so.
Something like that.
Yeah, something about the moon, or
correlation is not causation.
Something about the tides in the ocean and the way the moon.
Yeah. Something like that.
Well, I think the other, again, biggest thing that I've kind of seen, especially among some of the leaders, at least some of the heavy guys on Twitter that you see, I think is not wanting to give your children to Caesar. So I think you see a really heavy homeschool emphasis, or sometimes private Christian schooling of some kind, but certainly not public schooling until Christian nationalism comes in and kind of fixes what's going on there. But again, just a sense of kind of goes along with some of the generational stuff you were talking about from the perspective of wealth. But I think just the idea that we're going to generationally pass on the knowledge that we have as well. We're not going to just allow everyone to flounder along and hope for the best with them. We're going to be intentional and make sure that we pass on this wisdom that we worked really hard for, that we probably had to go through a lot harder times for than we're going to let our children go through. And I think that's a big distinctive that I see across the movement.
Yeah. I mean, if war may come, let it come in my day and not in the days of my child. Yeah. But even with that said, I mean, even when Christian nationalism takes over and we have a sacralist state, and James White is quaking in his boots, afraid that he's going to be arrested any night and thrown into a Waldorf castle, despite the fact that he's living in a very nice suburb in Arizona. Yeah. Despite all that, I will probably continue to homeschool my kids just because I think it's a better situation all around.
My church is currently trying to go through a thing, see if we can maybe get a co-op going or something like that.
Yeah.
We're all working on it. We have had a baby boom at my church in the short time that I've been there. I've been there maybe 3 years, something like that. And it's just either been people coming in who had kids and then having more kids, or just the same people having more kids. I mean, it's that church has created an entire generation of churchgoers within the last couple of years. And so a lot of people are like, let's figure something out so we don't have to send our kids to public school.
Yeah, the new laws here in Texas I'm going to have to dig into them just to figure out how they work, because my best friend and I both have kids. He has one, I have five, three school age. I have a brother who lives close, and he's got some kids that are my kids' same age, and he also homeschools. And so I'm kind of trying to figure out, what about this co-op thing? Could we do some sort of co-op? And if somebody comes in and, if we get our wives just set up as teachers, can we pay them, and how does the taxes work on that? And it's like, so I need a tax guy to talk to. I need to figure out how much we can write off for school supplies. I mean, we can probably do some of that already with homeschooling, but anyway, I need to figure that out, because it'd be very cool if we could turn family vacations into a tax write-off for schools. We're going to the Grand Canyon to study geology. It's like, I actually want to go to the Grand Canyon to do that already. It'd be nice if I could make it a tax write-off.
Oh, dude, yeah. Hey, real quick, is anyone else looking to jump on, ask questions, all that kind of stuff? A lot of people in the comments, but if you want to jump on, you should be able to follow that different link. It is just the other link, right?
That's right. There is a link that should say StreamYard stroke K4 blah blah. If you want to drop in and be part of the show, drop in there. If we don't get a lot of people dropping in and chatting, we might not be able to do this next year. But I think this will be a fun Father's Day tradition, just to relax and kind of sit around and chat for a bit.
I'm going to go through some comments real quick.
All right.
We've got like 3 of them. Let's see. They're not sending their best, or maybe they are.
Ooh, maybe those are their best.
Yeah. I tend to think that it's at least the best that money can buy. I think that there's not actually people who think that Donald Trump is trying to make himself a king or whatever. Donald Trump himself was even saying, for being a king, he sure has to fight Congress a lot to get anything done. It's just crazy. What else we got here? Oh yeah, 28 Days Later. Is that what that movie's about? Yeah, it's about women being in charge. It's a curse. You elect a woman, and then 28 days later, you're at war.
28 days later, the zombies have taken over.
Yeah.
Isn't it a zombie movie? I haven't seen it, but
technically, I mean, I guess the people aren't really dead, but it's like a rage virus, is what they call it.
Oh,
we do have another person on here. Before we go over to Zach, Alex, do you have anything else that you wanted to?
Any final thoughts, Alex?
No, just I've appreciated your podcast so far. Thanks for doing it. It's at a good time to watch live for me too, so that works out well.
Perfect. Perfect.
We're going to take you off stage, but if you want to stick by, we may have time for you later.
Sure.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. Thanks, man. All righty. We have a new caller, Zach. Zach, how are you, man?
Hey, guys. Am I coming through clear?
Yep.
Yeah, we can hear you just fine. How are things at your place?
I can only hear the stream in one and the myself in the other.
Oh, we can hear you.
Well, we can hear you just fine. Yeah, so chat away, my guy.
Oh, all right. Well, this had to do with what you're talking about with homeschooling.
Okay.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
You were talking about the decisions you had to make, and there was a thing I read years ago, and it was about priorities and the things that you want the most. So say you really want to be a good guitar player, and you might tell yourself that's what you want the most. The author was saying, well, you could actually want that, but you probably don't want that the most if you're spending 10 times more time playing video games. You know, you do want to be a good guitar player, but you really want to have a lot of leisure time. You actually want that the most.
Exactly. Yeah, that is the way that
And
prioritization works.
it's the same thing with homeschooling. You'll see a lot of people. Sorry.
Go ahead. Sounds like you're on a delay.
What you'll see is, yeah, I know. You'll have someone who has a job, their wife has a job, they have a certain lifestyle, they have a lot of money coming in, and they do want that, they like that. But they also want to maybe have a better education for their children, and choosing one means they don't get to keep them both.
Right.
And the objection or the complaint that you'll hear is, well, I can't do that. And what they're saying is, I can't keep them both. And the answer is, that's true. You can't keep them both. You have to choose which one you want the most.
Yeah. And
instead of dragging that out and repeating myself 100 times, I'll leave it at that.
yeah, I mean, everything's about prioritization, isn't it? I mean, we are only on this mortal coil for a certain amount of time. You know, we sit on a ball in space for a certain number of years. 80 years, but if God is gracious, maybe 100. And in that time, what are you going to prioritize? In your example, are you going to practice guitar? Are you going to be able to make cool riffs and play fun blues, jazzy blues? Or are you just going to spend time that you could have been doing that whittling, literally whittling, or metaphorically whittling your time away, doing any sort of things? I mean, guitar could be one thing. Working on small engines could be another. Different skills that you can build, or different leisure activities that you can take. Dancing to music, or just chilling out and smoking a cigar, which, I'm fond of that. But it certainly can become a thing if every day you get home at the end, clock out, go home, eat a little dinner, get a drink, get a cigar, sit on the porch, and just sit back. And that can be a time waster, or it could be good for you, either way. But it comes at the expense of doing something else. Everything's a trade-off. And when it comes to your kids' education, it's what are you going to do? Are you going to have your wife stay home full time, homeschool the kids? Because if you're doing that, she's not going to be making a paycheck. And if she's not making a paycheck, you might not be able to buy that boat that you want, or you might not get that. You might not get that vacation to the Grand Canyon to go study geological layers. Yeah.
All right, I got my boomer issue fixed. I can hear and talk at the same time now.
All right.
Something, a practical example that I realized over the last couple of years, I guess, is when you set out to write a book, you suddenly have no time to read books. So that's a huge investment. Like right now, I'm trying to read this right here, which I read the first treatise of Luther. It's two treatises Luther has on the Lord's Supper. So I read the first one. But man, I have really wanted to finish the editing process for the Robin Hood book. That I've written the first draft, and I'm going through. I'm like a quarter of the way through the second draft. Third draft. I've never done a fourth draft. Third draft will probably be the last one on this one. But all that to say, like, that has definitely been where my heart is at. And so I 100% see what you mean. Like, when you really want something, you make time for it.
Yeah. Well, and that's, we hear this all the time when people are like, man, I don't have time for Bible study. And how many of us have had a youth pastor that said, look, man, if you valued it, you would make time. You always have time for the things you care about. It's not a problem of time. It's a problem of priority. And good on the youth pastors. And maybe if you heard it from an actual pastor, is a youth pastor an actual pastor? I might be offending some people. On apologetus. But, if you had those influences in your life that said, "Look, man, you can do it. You just need to prioritize it." They're right. You what your heart desires to do, your brain will find time to do.
Do we want to? We got another caller.
Yeah,
Zach.
Zach. Any? Did you have another subject that you wanted to talk about, or any follow up points to that one?
Well, I could always come up with something, but I don't need to. I'll let you guys move on.
I mean, every time we chat, it seems like it always devolves into the fall of Rome. So I'm sure there's something there about that.
So I'll leave you with this. There's a ton of writing at the end of the Republic, and it sounds exactly like everything in our circles.
Yeah.
The men are effeminate. They don't have their values. And it's the wealth had corrupted them at that point. The prosperity. The same thing that Samuel was mentioning the other day about how it does have a corrosive effect, especially when it comes fast. When you go from a poor nation to a super rich nation really fast, it's happened several times. We're not the first, and it almost always has the same outcome.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, Zach, we're going to take another caller, but you can stay on, but we're going to take you off the stage for now, and we might swing back to you.
All right. Happy Father's Day, man.
All right.
Yeah, and you too, my guy.
All right. Kaiser.
All right. Happy Father's Day, guys. First time up on the show on the East Coast here. I'm usually a little bit late, for early for your show because I'm going to bed while you're on. But wanted to get on and say hi. You can hear me okay?
We can hear you loud and clear, man.
Good. Nice. Anyway, I didn't really have any particular points to bring up. Just wanted to say Happy Father's Day and was listening into what y'all were talking about. But I was a little bit behind. I wasn't live.
That's all right.
So I didn't mean to boot Zachary out.
No, we're going to be going in circles.
Do you have a fun story about fatherhood? You being a dad or your own father, some lesson that you learned, maybe that you learned the hard way.
Sure. Well, I think it's really important looking at, I learned a lot of good stuff from my dad. I'm trying to improve some things, but generally I think it was positive. But something that seems really difficult that I think our generation is going to have to sort of sort out for ourselves without a lot of good example is helping the kids beyond childhood and into adulthood and relating to them as adults and entering sort of like, the point where they're evaluating what we pass on to them and agreeing or disagreeing to various extents, right? And that's where a lot of our fathers, even when they were good fathers to us as children, the Boomer and Gen X generation has not done very good at dealing with Gen Z growing up and even millennials growing up, right?
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
And I think part of that has to do with helping your kids get set up with marriage and career and stuff in a way that keeps you all connected, so you actually share something in common that that you can keep the clan together. Somewhat seems to be a factor to me in relating to one another as men in independent households.
Well, Jeff's got more experience with that than I do. I mean, we'll have to one day do a full episode on arranged marriages, but that to me seems to be a good way to solve that problem.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's a lot of things. It's not just finding spouses for your kids, both your sons and your daughters.
Right.
It's interesting to note, just before I move on to the next point, that in the scriptures, the majority of the time when it's talking about finding a spouse, the majority of the time it's in the context of fathers finding a spouse for their children. Everybody's familiar with, the verse, "He that finds a wife findeth a good thing." But the examples that are given most of the time are fathers seeking out spouses for their children, and that has been completely neglected. And culturally, it seems like it's a very foreign idea for parents to go find their children's spouses. But once you start reading the historical, the stories, the autobiographies of people who have lived in this country from the 1800s and even up to the mid 1900s, it was not unusual for matchmaking to take place. And sometimes it was more forceful. Everybody's familiar with the concept of a shotgun wedding. Sometimes it was. Sometimes that wasn't even necessary. Sometimes it was just like, hey, you should marry so and so. I'm going to talk to her dad. You go talk to her, and let's get this set up. And that wasn't very unusual. But at some point in the 1950s on down, not only did it stop being practiced, but it became foreign to the point where if that happened, all of a sudden it would be very weird. You mean you just married someone because your parents said you should? Wow, I can't believe they would do something so unkind to you, which is not at all the case. If your parents find you a good spouse, they've done you a huge favor. That's a lot of work that they just took off of your plate. You should be immensely grateful for that, not looking a gift horse in the mouth, so to speak.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier how we're more similar to our kinfolk in related nations than we are to Haiti, for instance.
Yeah.
But we don't connect to these people through 1950. We were not the same people at that time, much more than we are now. We connect to them through our medieval heritage. And everyone would say this arranged marriage thing, oh, that's so medieval of you. Well, that's the basis of our Christian society. That's how we're connected to all of our close kin.
Yeah. The medieval period was not a dark age. The guy who coined that term was anti-Christian, apostate, a deviant, a sexual deviant. So don't take your ideas. It's like that old phrase. You're going to believe either what your ancestors said about their enemies or what your enemies say about your ancestors. And those of you who know that quote know what I'm saying. Yeah. But it hard. Is. It's true. It's true. These, your ancestors laid out a Christian heritage. They handed it down to you, and to spurn your inheritance is as bad as not leaving one to your own children. Very true. Mm-hmm. The second point I was going to make is not just in spouses, but it's also about setting up your children to succeed in life. Your children need to have skills. If you're out working on your car, bring your son with you. Make him hold a flashlight. Teach him how to hold a flashlight. Don't just scream at him for holding it wrong. Yeah. But actually explain to him the concept of
not like that, like this. Yeah. Not like that.
I have eyeballs that are looking straight forward out of my head. Get that beam as close to that straight line as you can. Throwing a 13 millimeter wrench at his head isn't going to teach him how to do that. You have to teach him how to do that. And, teach your kids some skills. If you're changing out a carburetor on a lawnmower, pull that thing off. Explain to your kid what a flapper valve is. Tell him what a needle valve is. Teach him how those things interact with each other. Everybody says, oh, yeah, carburetors, they're not used anymore. Have you ever pulled apart a weed whacker? Have you ever pulled apart a lawnmower? They're still used. And your kid will need to know how to do those things. Your kid will need to know how to take care of his own equipment, not leave it out in the rain and get destroyed. Those are skills that your kids need to learn. And giving your boy a trade so that he can get a job, teaching him carpentry, car mechanics, things that he can do on his own. But also, if you're a doctor, come home, sit down with your kid and talk about, hey, this is what, this sickness here is. This is why we treat it with this medicine. If you're a pastor, be talking theology with your kids. No matter who you are, talk theology with your kids.
Oh yeah.
Do Bible studies. Don't just read through the Bible. Do read through the Bible, but teach theology to your kids. These things are. It's easy to name them off, to just be like, hey, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, do this, that, and the other. But implementing those in your life, it takes a little bit of work, but it's a little tiny drop here and there and here and there that will make an ocean of wealth for your child when he comes to age and he's trying to make himself succeed. It's a good thing to invest in your kids like that.
What's really interesting is that, for millennials, I don't know, do you fall into millennial or are you Gen Z, Jeff?
Kaiser or me? I am a millennial. I was born in 1994. My wife was born in 97. So she is right on the edge of being Gen Z. I think the cutoff, we've talked about it before on the show, but I think the cutoff is really, do you remember a pre 9/11 world?
Yeah.
And my wife doesn't really. So I'd say she's Gen Z, whereas I'm millennial.
My wife's born in 1990, so I was born in '89. She's born in '90, and she says she does not remember the pre 9/11 world.
Well, that's just bad memory.
Yeah, I'm like, honey, you were like 10 years old. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Anyways,
but different people become socially aware at different points.
Yeah.
So
I bring that up to say, us millennials are very lucky that
a millennial is somebody who can remember a world before Pokemon. I remember when that came on the scene and it just kind of took over everything.
Yeah, it did. We're very lucky as millennials that YouTube came into existence when it did, because if not for the way the internet developed, millennials would have not had a lot of information. We didn't inherit information from our fathers. We inherited information from largely the internet. I mean, some of us did, but I mean, if I needed to know how to, like you were, talking about working on engines, well, I've got to go look at Chris Fix on YouTube or whoever, you know what I mean? Like,
hey guys, Chris Fix here.
Yeah.
But,
like that was my father with the holding the flashlight for him, kind of thing. So
I mean, my dad was Alex Jones before Alex Jones was a thing. Well, I guess Alex Jones was a thing, but before I knew Alex Jones was a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, he was talking about the Egyptian pyramids, how were they built, and what were they actually doing? And it's like, I love that stuff because I was raised on it. I mean, when we'd sit around, my dad would be like, the pyramids. How did they build the pyramids? Those blocks are like 110 tons each. We can't even move that with modern equipment. How did they do that? And I mean, it was awesome. My dad was great. But anyhow, we're not just a bunch of fatherless incels, despite what some people might say.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Kaiser, any last thoughts for you, man?
Just gonna check out and say goodnight. I got my wife waiting for me now. Lights are off at home.
All right. Well, have fun.
Have a good one. Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day and good night.
Good night.
All right. So, I want to read a few comments real quick. So, Paul, we've got an echo coming off of you. I'm not real sure why that is, but I'm going to mute you for just a second while I read off these comments. The other Paul says, I'll be jumping on soon. We're pulling him in right now. But Z says, the image of the father talking to his son and being a part of his search for a wife would be a good subject for any of our guys writing literature.
I actually do have that sort of in the Robin Hood book I have coming up.
Cool stuff.
A very interesting version of that, but essentially it's not giving anything away. It's like the very first scene, but a knight dies in the Holy Land, and the knight doesn't have any sons, but he has one daughter, and so he leaves his inheritance to Robin on the condition that he goes and marries the man's daughter, and his daughter is Maid Marian.
Maid Marian, so there you go.
A situation there that starts all that. So it's kind of like kind of like a arranged marriage. It's basically
Yeah.
like, I'm going to die now, go marry my daughter. And
Here's your mission. Your mission, should you
yeah.
choose to accept it.
yeah, so that's what's going on with that. So it's a
Well,
pretty
maybe that's not good framing. We're making it like it's an impossible mission to live with this woman.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not what we're trying to say. But sounds awesome. Z again, I sold a mower to a guy yesterday who builds go-karts and mini bikes with his sons. He had his son with him, and he was a very mature and respectful young man. You'll love to see it. Yeah, that's really awesome. Unfortunately, quite rare. But Paul, I'm not sure what's going on, but I'm still getting an echo off of you. Z says, quote, and she is a nag. Good luck, Robin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully not. All right.
My fellow Christians, thank you so much for having me on the channel. I'm sure you all aware of what Iran is doing right now. We need to support our greatest ally and support real Christian values in the Middle East. Hey, I'm on video.
How are you, man?
Sorry, the echo is my mic because I don't have the earphones in, but the problem is whenever I put earphones in, what's the policy for naughty words in the channel?
Keep to a minimum, please.
Okay. My system just goes to absolute crap whenever I put in wireless earphones. So I'm trying to find a decent wired one that won't fall apart in 1 week. So whenever I'm not talking and others are, I'm just going to mute myself to stop the echo.
Fair enough. Yeah. No, when it comes to wired earphones, I think, okay, I'm going to get a little conspiratorial here. I think they're intentionally making them garbage. Because I remember in the 90s and the early thousands walking around town with a CD player in my jacket pocket and wired earphones. And I had the same set of earbuds for like 5 years. And they never had a problem. They never destroyed, I mean, those things rode with me through thick and thin, in a linty pocket, twisted, all kinds of stuff. I get wired earphones now, and they last me like a month, and they fall apart. So I think it's designed that way. They want to push us to the Bluetooth headphones so they can read your brain, man.
Mine have been pretty good. I don't know what brand this is, but it's been.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Sean is tied to his computer. He has not joined the elite.
He knows sometimes I try to reach back here. I'm like, oh no, I can't.
Oh no, I can't do it. I can't do it. Yeah, it's funny. Sometimes when we're setting up, I'll walk over to the fridge and I'll get myself a drink, and I've got these wireless earbuds, these headphones. I can walk all over this house and I can still hear Sean chatting. But my microphone is on the desk, so he can't hear me, but I can hear him. So Paul, did you have something that you wanted to bring to the table? An idea, a thought?
Well, as I already did, we need to support our greatest ally, of course, in this great conflict that is happening. I just I don't know. Well, I just came from a debate this morning. I did that already. So that was fun and awesome. So I really just here to I don't know, chew the fat if you guys want to. But I guess, do you guys have a particular theme, or is it just Father's Day thing, or?
Well, we were talking about Father's Day. When we started the show, we talked a little bit about a back and forth that Sean had with an erstwhile friend who said something really ridiculous about, I'm white.
As far as I know, as far as I know, we're still friends on Facebook. I don't know, but I never got a response back after. I basically had said, everything you said in this first part has nothing to do with this second part. And he was like, basically, this wasn't confusing until you Kenneth came in and did this and blah, blah, and, whatever. And I was like, it's just basic. When I say basic logic, I don't mean in oh, you're stupid, but it's like formal logic. This doesn't track. What you're trying to argue doesn't make sense.
Yeah, the A plus B equals C doesn't add up here. Something's out of whack. Yeah. Yeah.
That tends to be a universal pattern with the what I like to call the racial egalitarians. Yeah, it's not surprising. It's not that things become confusing for them when the Kenneths, scary, the Kenneths come in and start confusing them because, well, to the cognitively dissonant, cognitive dissonance is quite simple, and then actually having to think step by step for things, yeah, that can confuse a lot of people. I find that in a lot of experience, I have many such cases of exchanges just like that, where I'll be very clear in the step to step to step logic with something, and they're still just like, oh, but that bad thing. And I'm like, I just explained why it's not, including using premises which you yourself grant as a Christian. I pre-sup them all the time. That's what I always try to do. I do some pre-sup on these guys, and they still just gone, oh, it really is frustrating.
Well, my personal favorite debate moment of yours was asking, how would you feel if you didn't have breakfast this morning, or if you hadn't had breakfast this morning, and your retard opponent was like, I actually had a very small breakfast. Yeah, so that was fun.
Yeah, I mean, in retrospect, he technically didn't fail the breakfast question. He just denied that the hypothetical was actually applicable to him then, because he normally doesn't. He didn't have breakfast that day. So yeah, it would have failed if he said, "But I did have breakfast this morning." I wish he did. Maybe one day.
Yeah, it's hypotheticals should not be that hard to grasp. I mean, to me, it seems like a quite simple answer. My father-in-law gives my mother-in-law a hard time because she doesn't know how to answer questions, and it doesn't matter if it's hypothetical or otherwise. He'll be like, "Hey, do we need milk? I'm running to the store," and she'll say, "Well, I bought milk last week." Okay, and okay, what does that have to do? Okay, do we still have plenty of milk? Are we about out of milk? Like some people just really, either it's a hypothetical problem, they can't understand the hypothetical, or sometimes it's just they can't get to the point, and it is frustrating, but it's not unusual. I'm afraid. Very strange. Very strange.
If you're interested, Paul, I am interested in knowing what all you have behind you. You've got a statue, you've got some icons, some books. What's all going on back there?
Yeah, and what's going on with the necklace, man? I thought you were Anglican.
I am Anglican. I have these, a few of them from different places, but yes, I am indeed an icons enjoyer, but I'm not an icon worshipper. So sorry, my Eastern and Papist friends, I don't exactly do that. But I do enjoy, I do like icons. I think they serve a great purpose of basically giving the visual message of our faith and what we believe, which is certainly as valid a form of communication as the written word. Even this one, I don't know what you guys feel about it, so sorry if it kind of left field, but even this one, icon of Christ in the middle, and then it's just the Lord's Prayer in Greek in the text going through there. And then this one is one from Athens, which my cousin got me. It's of the Apostles Peter and Paul. This one is from Hierapolis, where Philip was martyred, and it is of Philip. And this one down here is of St. George. It was from an uncle of one of my mum's, a funeral of one of my mum's uncles. So I just got a whole bunch of them, and I like to just collect them all. And then even the cross necklace here, I have historically liked certain Eastern aesthetics, Eastern Christian aesthetics, and I like this particular kind of cross and crucifix. And I've got a Western silver one as well, like a Western style crucifix, but for some reason I've lost it around here, like again the second time. So I'm still looking for. I'm trying to wear that a lot more and do a bit more of the Western historical heritage with that regard.
Yeah. So is that a Crusader statue? Is that a Crusader figurine I'm seeing there?
Yes, it is. It's actually my brother's. He bought it probably like a decade and a half ago, probably more. Actually, yeah, definitely more. Probably closer to 2 decades now, actually. And he never used really. It was cool. It looked cool to him, but he never used it. So when I made my office up here, I'm just like, hey, I'm going to take that. Thank you. And it's just here now. His name's Pierre. That's why I call him
Pierre. Yeah, you had an option there because he's he's French. You could have named him Geoffrey. Just saying.
I could have named him Geoffrey. I could have named him. I could maybe I'll call him. Maybe I'll give him his last name as Vesci, as in VSCI, because I believe my last name, Facey, when I actually trace it, it actually goes back, I believe, to like that French nobility name, which is interesting.
Very based. Very cool. Yeah.
Very cool. Speaking of hypotheticals, real quick, could you share my application, like the final boss of hypotheticals for the Big Brain Boys?
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
I've shared an application screen. It's got a meme on it.
Oh.
I am the ghost of Christmas, future imperfect conditional, said the spirit. I bring news of what would have been going to happen if you were not to have been going to change your ways.
That's so wild.
I need to get that framed and hang it on the wall. That is one of my favorite books. The Christmas Carol. I read it. Well, I listen to it every December. I put that on and I read it and I listen to it to get in the Christmas spirit. And I just love A Christmas Carol. And funnily enough, my favorite movie version of that is The Muppet Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
If you
really?
Yes, The Muppet Christmas Carol. I will die on this hill. The Muppet Christmas Carol is the best movie version of the Christmas Carol. Wow, I love it, man.
Cool.
This is so cool.
I would like to share something as well, and we're talking about cross aesthetics. Let me see if I can put my.
Just imagine one of the kosher right guys trying to comprehend that level of hypothetical.
Yeah, devastation.
So I don't know if you can see. Did this pull up?
Let's see. Is it this one here?
Oh, there it is. Yeah. So I designed this myself.
Whoa.
I used AI to make it look like give it, I guess, like that rock look and whatever. Because I had drawn it and I said, like, use this exact shape, but just give it like texture. So what this is essentially is the like Viking style axe head going both ways. It's essentially like two axes put up against each other, but it creates a cross. And I was like, man, I've never seen a cross that looks like that has that distinct axe head look. And I've kind of always had it pictured in my head because it's almost going in the direction of what is the one that's always on like West Coast choppers and all that. It's like a
oh yeah,
it's like a German one, I believe. But
yeah, the Iron Cross.
Yeah,
you know when I look at this, you know what it looks like to me? Looks like Batman became a Christian.
Batman a little bit, yeah.
I like it.
It is.
That is sick. That is actually pretty sick.
I'm starting to believe that the Batman symbol comes from the Viking axe head. Because basically what I did was I just took a picture of like one of their axe heads and like traced it essentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what that's called is a bearded Viking axe.
Yeah,
you know, it can be a pole axe or a long axe or a two-handed axe, but they all have that very long beard, which is what you call the lower part of the axe there.
Yeah.
And if you ever held a real one, what you will discover is they are quite light. They are actually very thin. They were not designed for going up against plate armor or even mail. They were designed for going up against people who are wearing light clothing to linen coifs, and those things would they'd chop through some clothing. But if you were wearing some chainmail, they wouldn't do nearly as much. It'd be more like getting hit with a club. But a fantastic weapon that stood the test of time, because that the axe has a history in Western tradition, all the way from the Viking period to the founding of America. So when the settlers came to the New World, they brought what were called boarding axes, which was a little handheld axe that would be used. You know, if you're boarding someone else's ship, you'd grab an axe and you'd just go to town on the guys. When you got onto their boat, you'd just start swinging left and right because you didn't have fast reloading pistols and things like that. It was melee combat. Well, but in the meantime, it'd be a handy weapon to have around on the ship is an axe for opening crates and cutting ropes and, you know, cutting up timber, things along those lines. Well, when the founders of our nation, the United States, that is, when they landed, they brought boarding axes with them, and they used them as a trade good with the natives. And that's where tomahawks came from, because Indians, they were not metallurgists. They were running around with stone knives, scalping each other with that. And then the white people came along and handed them an axe, and they're like, hey, this is pretty good for scalping too. But yeah, that's where the tomahawk came from. Native Americans did not invent that. Europeans gave it to them and promptly regretted it.
I will say this axe head looks like it wants to give me a high interest loan.
Oh. Is that what's going on?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
He who knows.
Well, you pay like
That's the other cross.
All right, let's see. So, Paul, do you still have any family who are back in Lebanon? I've seen some videos coming out of Lebanon the last couple days. There's one that might be a little infamous right now of a wedding that was going on, and they were playing ABBA at the wedding, and in the background there are a bunch of hypersonic and otherwise sonic missiles coming in and striking a certain country, our favorite, best allies in the world, who sank one of our boats. But you know, do you have any family in Lebanon, and what is it like there? Are they getting a little reprieve from getting attacked by their neighbors because of all this nonsense, or how are things over there? Do you know?
They are. So this is my family on my mother's side. So she does have still a bunch of family in Lebanon, and she keeps in contact with them. But I think for the most part, I think they're further up north, and so they're not really directly affected by the conflicts. Although there could be some I don't know of, because I don't like making a point of conversation really with her. So as far as I'm aware, not really effective. Although everyone is they've kind of got their ears perked up in case something does change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everybody on high alert. I mean, things in the Middle East have not been great ever since some people showed up and started taking their neighbors' houses. So unfortunately, things in Europe have not improved. That was sort of the trade, right? We were going to export all of our problems to the Middle East, and then Europe would be okay. But somehow we got the worst end of both deals. Not only are we still having problems in Europe, but they've gotten worse, and now the problems in the Middle East have only escalated. And now there are a problem too. All of a sudden, we have to go and die for the wars in the Middle East. Not great.
Yep. If Israel falls, then the whole world falls. And to most people, seemingly, oh, look, yeah, it's because Israel, they're the bulwark of democracy in the Middle East. And if they go down, then Islam will just explode like a plague. Until people learn what the Samson option is. That takes on a whole new meaning.
Yeah, the explosion and end of the world is actually a little more pertinent than a lot of people seem to understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I haven't fully studied in on the nature of the Samson option, because I know that, like, with other official documentation that's been revealed in that about the Samson option, there's different, like, from the official one, like, well, semi-official but leaked ones. It's more, the Samson option is more framed as if Israel falls, then they'll send like a massive final strike against their specific enemies in the Middle East, like Iran and what have you. So hopefully it is just that. It still wouldn't be good, but hopefully it's just that. Although you also have that book by that other guy who purports otherwise, that actually no, it'll be a giant revenge middle finger to Europe
and the New World.
The problem with that would be, though, if the point of the Samson option is that the Jews in Israel want to, like, hey, they're going to take out the Jews, so we're going to nuke the world. Like there's big Jewish hubs in Southern California, in New York.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know if things like that exist. Are there like stereotypically Jewish cities in other places other than America, or is it just us with like, what's the deal with Jews in New York and like the L.A. and like those two spots?
Vienna, and there's a big Jewish enclave in Vienna. Austin, Texas has a large Jewish presence. They make enclaves and state of their own, just like Chinese. You have Chinatowns in many of the large cities in the world. That's not just in LA and New York. I mean, they have Chinatowns in Australia. I've heard of them. I haven't been, but I've heard of them. And I'm sure the Jewish community does the same thing.
I would find it, well, I don't want to say hilarious, but I mean,
ironic.
It's a thing that could happen that, that on their way out, Israel nukes the Kaaba and we just kind of solve all our problems at once. That'd be kind of cool.
Would it though? Would it really solve our problems?
It would solve my problems.
I mean, it would be very interesting if that were to happen, to see what Islam would do. But I think a lot of religions that are based upon a certain aspect, excuse me, when that aspect does not come true, you saw this with the Great Disappointment in the 1800s when the end times were prophesied, and then it didn't happen. Here it is, 2025. We're still here, but the Great Disappointment disappointed a lot of people who were expecting the end of the world because of Old Testament and New Testament prophecies. But a lot of the people that came out of that movement spun off and created other minor cults, some of which are still with us to this day. Most notably the Seventh-day Adventists, who are doing just fine. They found a way of explaining away their prophecies. And the Mormons, who are huge in the Western United States. They are a force to be reckoned with. They are one of the richest religions in the world as far as monetary wealth goes. So, if the Kaaba were to suddenly disappear, I don't think it would be the end of Islam. I think what you would see is Iranian Islam and Moroccan Islam, which already don't have much to do with Saudi Arabia just because of how far away they are. They would probably be just fine. Saudi Arabia would be done because they make their money off of two things. One is tourism to the Kaaba, and the other is oil. And an all-out nuclear war would devastate them. They probably wouldn't recover. There's not much to recover anyway. Saudi Arabia's a sand heap, has always been a sand heap. Civilization never came out of that desert. So yeah, they'd be gone. But I think Egypt and Libya, they'd find a way to keep on. I think Iran would be unfazed. I think Morocco would continue to exist. I don't think it would change a lot of things. Like some people think, just nuke the Kaaba and it'll all be over. I don't think so.
No, it wouldn't be over, but it would. I don't know. Maybe it'd start a war, and then our people would wake up and.
Who knows?
I'm one of those kind of guys. I'm tired of, I'm going to kind of say some nerdy things real quick. There's an episode of Star Trek, the original series, where they go to this planet and these people at the planet are saying, you got to get out of here. You got to get your ship out of here. Like, we're in a war. And they're like, we haven't seen any like bombs going off or nothing since we flew up to your planet. And it turns out that they have a computer that simulates the war, and it on this planet between these two tribes and nations, whatever they are. And when people get targeted, they have to turn themselves in to be like disintegrated. And so it's like a war simulation, but it's a way that it's like their kind of peaceful option to war. And what happens is that the Enterprise gets targeted within the simulation. They're like, okay, you got to turn your ship in and all your people got to die. And they're like, we're not doing that. and of course, and so what the moral of the story? They end up like destroying the computer because that's Captain Kirk's way, is just destroying people's stuff. But he basically gives a speech where he's telling them like war needs to be it needs to be dirty, it needs to be in your face, or else you guys are just going to keep doing this for 1,000 years, and you're just going to turn yourself into the computer simulation, whatever. But maybe if it was you actually saw the consequences with your own eyes and you felt them truly, then maybe this war wouldn't be going on forever. It sometimes it takes that, and I think that right now we're in such a state of peace relatively that we're like, yeah, just let all the Muslims into Europe, that's fine. Or what's really crazy is like when we were talking about what things were like pre 9/11, most people, I mean, this sounds crazy looking back now, most people didn't know what Islam was. Islam was so foreign that like if you just talk to a regular guy on the street in the 90s and he wasn't like a well-read person, he wouldn't know what Islam is. He wouldn't know any Muslims personally. He wouldn't know where the local mosque is. But now, I mean, kids growing up, they're like, oh, of course we know what Islam is. We've been at war with Islam since Islam. And so like 9/11 really changed that. And of course the bleeding heart liberals suddenly wanted to throw their bodies in front of bullets to save Muslims after the terrorist attack. So, I mean, it's just one of those things, like sometimes those things have to happen and then people can say, oh yeah, I don't want this. I'm actually going to start throwing bullets the other way. Not throwing them, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like that Norm Macdonald joke. I really hate the fact that what if a Muslim let off a dirty bomb in the middle of New York City? Can you imagine all the devastation? But you know what the worst part would be? Can you imagine the backlash against peaceful Muslims? It's like, actually, I think the worst part is the dirty bomb in New York City. I don't think the backlash against Muslims is the worst part there. All right, let's catch up on comments just again. Z says, Paul, just mute the YouTube stream. I think we figured out what it was. But he says, never mind, the echo is probably just the NSA listening to the call. The NSA is definitely listening in. They know who you are. They know your address. They know how much money is in your piggy bank under your bed. You just need to get used to it. Z says, this wasn't confusing until you wifus came in. Yeah. What is it with all these people that keep being like, oh, well, you racist, kinist, this, that, and the other? How come it is that like half the time that they're calling people kinists, the person that they're calling a kinist is either biracial or in a biracial marriage? Like, have you noticed that all these supposed kinists are, it's kind of like that old joke, never ask a libertarian the ethnicity of his wife, right? Never ask an online racist what race his wife is.
Yeah, 100% true. I thank God. I unironically believe part of why God providentially made me my mixed racial being is in part for this massive conversation where so many people would just try to initially go with, oh well, you think that your European whiteness needs to be preserved, blah blah blah, like oh yeah, it's just a personal interest of yours. But for me, it's the exact opposite. I have, in terms of just my own personal benefit, I have an interest in denying the moral reality of race and racial continuity. I have the incentive in the exact opposite direction, because per my own principles, I'm not a full Australian. I'm just not. I'm half Australian with patrilineal descent to the First Fleet. That's meaningful, and I obviously adopt that identity in a spiritual manner. But otherwise, I'm not a full Australian in that regard. And so I'm willing to accept that just as it is, that my that the union that created me is not an ideal one. It shouldn't be the norm. Not that it's simple in every case, but it shouldn't be the norm. And I'm okay with that. I can entertain those things because in the end, what matters is actually principle and truth and what follows from that, whatever that actually means for your own personal circumstances. Whereas a lot of the racial and so yeah, you have a bunch of our own guys who aren't just full white Europeans in the racial sense. Some of them will be mixed guys as well because they recognize the same thing. It's a matter of principle. By contrast, the other side is either made of self-hating whites or other people who are mixed or just fully of a different non-white race and who are very clearly, not even just a matter of like, well, they may be operating by way of personal interest. No, in some cases, I've seen like very clear and explicit, basically admissions on their part that, oh, well, if you had your way with this racialist reasoning and policy, then, oh, me and my family, we wouldn't be American or like we'd be kicked out or whatever. And that was even the case with one of my own public content maker friends just recently online, Twitter, where we were going back and forth in comments, and he was basically saying, "Oh well, if you had this way with if the dissident right had its way with America, me and my family might be kicked back to Italy." And I'm just like, I mean, if that's what principle requires, then I mean, you're basically admitting that a massive motivating factor for you is your own personal well-being. Mm-hmm. Which, if you're just honest about that, then I can respect that. Fair enough. But that does mean that you can't just claim your positions are, oh, well, it's just true in principle. No, you're doing it because you're in part advocating these anti-racial positions out of personal self-interest. Just be honest out of that.
Yeah. And what is it with all these people who are like, well, if you nationalists had your way, we'd be sent back to Italy or we'd be sent back to Mexico. It's like, you're flying the Mexican flag. Yeah. You seem to like Mexico a lot. How is it a crime against humanity if we send you back to this place that you love so much? You know, you come to my country and you're flying the flag of Lebanon or you're flying the flag of Israel. Why is it such a crime if we send you back to the country that you purport to love so much? You know, I wish you well. I hope you love your country as much as I love mine, enough to go there and live there. Enough to actually stand up and fight for it, to show up, democratically, to vote in your process, in your society, to show up and be a member of society, building up your community brick by brick. Why is it so bad for you to go home? Is it really a crime for me to advocate for, hey, these foreigners shouldn't be in my country. They have homes. We can deport them together. Why is that so bad? What's so wrong about that? Is there an immorality there that I'm just not cued into?
Yeah, what's funny, I've had people, I had this one time where, someone knew that I had my battle flags out and I was talking about their Mexican flag and they're like, well, we should send you back to where that flag's from. I was like, bro, don't threaten me with a good time like that. Yeah. We fought a war to get us sent back to that place. Like that's what we want. Like we don't want to share a country with you.
Yeah, I would love for the South to be independent once more. Don't threaten me with a good time. Yeah, a friend of mine who's from Honduras, she was having a run-in with, I think it was the TSA or maybe the NSA, I forget. But they told her in no uncertain terms, look, if you don't play ball with us, if you don't do X, Y, and Z, I don't remember what it was, but if you don't do this, that, and the other, we're going to send you back to Honduras. And she's like, what, do you think your country's the only functional country? I love Honduras. It's where I'm from. You're going to send me home? Okay, put me on a flight. Send me home. This is not breaking my heart. It's where I'm from. I love it there. That's where my family is. Yeah.
Me and my wife have a joke that really only we get, but I'll kind of explain it because it has to do with what you were saying. When we were in Afghanistan, me and my wife were both in Afghanistan, for those who don't have that context. And this is our unit patch that I have back here. We're in Afghanistan. This guy was arguing, and Baumholder, Germany was where we were stationed at before that. And this guy he basically out of nowhere was like, well, what are you gonna do? Send me back to bomb holder? And so that's like our thing. Like if someone threatens you, like, well, what are you gonna do? Like the worst case scenario, I'm no longer in Afghanistan. So
yeah, I'm
like,
already in hell. You can't send me.
Yeah. Also, as far as the racial purity, apparently I'm a second tier white person, being Norwegian. According to Jeff. Jeff thinks that Norwegians are not S tier as whatever.
Yeah,
but you know who he does?
So
You know who he does?
So
You know who he puts in the S tier? The French.
I do not.
You didn't
most
have
certainly
anything to
do
say
not.
about it.
You go back.
Jeff
You
does.
go back and scroll through those chats. Somebody. So for context, somebody posted a ranking of the ethnicities just for a laugh in the chat, and somebody put the French in S tier. I'm like, what planet are you on? He put Irish and Italians and French in S tier, and I'm like, guy, Irish are
not a serious actor.
no. I mean, and I'm part Irish. Okay, I'm part Irish, and I'm very fully German, and I'm part Jewish, and there's maybe a little bit of other things mixed in there, but I'm mostly German. But
yeah, you heard him right. You heard it. Don't overlook that.
All right. So what I said is the Swedes and the Danes and the Dutch are S tier, and the Finns and the Norwegians and the Germans are A tier. But the Swedes are just the Swedes and the Dutch. I mean, you can't argue with the height, man. Those guys are giants.
I don't understand how you divide Norway from that.
Well, it's a big argument between the Norwegians and the Swedes, because the Norwegians are actually really salty about the fact that, so in Norway and Sweden, the language of trade and aristocracy was Swedish for the longest time. I mean, these days maybe not so much, but still to the point where people in Norway will speak. The majority of Norwegians speak both Norwegian and Swedish, because Swedish is the language of commerce and trade and education. And so, I mean, you can't argue with tradition, man.
And
IKEA
in Swedish.
Yeah, 1,000 years of well, maybe not 1,000, but several hundred years of the Swedes lording it over their Norwegian neighbors.
You know what's funny about Sweden? We had to stay at a now the place is called an omelet, and that stands for, it's like OMLT. It's like that's an acronym for something. So we stayed at a Swedish omelet, and so it was the Swedish military. All their furniture, not making this up, all their furniture is IKEA. Literally everything was IKEA, and it was funny. Is like, we're in Germany, like their 5 tons were made by Mercedes Benz. Like they all have the Benz logo on them on their 5-ton military. So it was ridiculous.
Yeah. When I lived in Germany, all of our furniture came from IKEA. And now that we're in the States, I mean, half the furniture, I'm looking right now across my dining room. I'm looking at some cabinets that came from IKEA. It is, the Swedes have taken over the entire planet, man, with easy to assemble furniture. That's what it was. That's
but
what it was.
Also they also ended up with that exporting pretty much the worst aesthetic movement just in human history, period. I think it's called, what's it called? Bauhaus or something like that, some German art school, Bauhaus. When you guys look that up, if anyone doesn't know of it already, you're going to be like, oh my word, this is literally everywhere in our modern life. It's basically the design school, mid-20th century, something like that, mid to late 20th century, that started the whole trend of furniture that is hyper minimalist, very easy to manufacture and mass produce. So pretty much all that IKEA stuff. Sorry?
And everything is cube shaped.
Yeah, that's a big part as well.
Mm-hmm.
So everything, all that stuff you see, including like, how many like chairs that aren't swivel chairs, they're like a very basic back and base, and then like it's held up by like these iron bars that go. If you're looking at it from the side, they go in a loop like that, so it kind of bends around the horseshoe shape, and that keeps it up with the support. That's them. That's them as well. Like hyper minimalist, extreme functionality only.
This right here is what your dining room table should look like. Right
Yeah,
here. This is
like
form.
This is
too much color though. There's too much color.
Yeah, this was actually a Father's Day present today that I got. Gigantic.
Nice.
Also, before I forget, this was my Father's Day card. It has a naughty word on it. So it says.
Is it the N word?
No, I wish. No, I wish. No.
Putting up with my shit. Nice, Gary.
Yeah.
Oh my word.
So that's.
Yeah.
That's the kind of family I have.
With a hard G, with a hard R.
Got to put it out there. The word is. I'll take the word for 500, Alex.
I've got a challenge at some future episode. What would be a good topic for us to have Paul on for some future episode? If anyone in the chat wants to say something, we actually have quite a few comments to catch up on. If you'd like to do that.
Yeah, let's dive back into the comments. Let's see. Nathaniel Clemens says, "Where is your dang beard?" The garbage can. So I cut it off. Do not fret; it shall return at some point. My wife loves the beard. She loves the beard, and she doesn't like being married to a 16-year-old. So it will have to return. I don't know why I look like a child, but anytime I go somewhere without a beard, all of a sudden they start carding me when I try to buy my Zins. It's I tell you what, it's the worst, man.
No, you look like who did I say you look? Hugo Mortensen, is that the dude's name? The guy that played what's his face in Lord of the Rings? I'm blanking on it.
Oh, yeah.
Viggo Mortensen, something like that?
Yeah, Viggo Mortensen, I believe it is. Yeah, so I wear these blue light glasses when I'm on my computer, and I actually have fairly curly hair when it's not combed. So I was walking around today with my glasses and my hair hanging down on my face, and my mom said, "Here comes Superman," or "Here comes Clark Kent." So, yeah, definitely very boyish look. Speaking of Superman, Sean, what are your predictions about the Superman movie coming up? You think that's going to be?
Oh man, I go back and forth. Obviously, if anyone, well, I'm a huge Superman fan. I got my bobblehead. This was actually, you know what? Speaking of dads, my dad sent me this in a care package to Afghanistan.
Very cool.
I was like, of all the places to send that, like, I don't need that in Afghanistan. Like, it's cool.
I'm gonna have to take it home with me.
Why? Yeah, now I got to ship it back. Like, and
yeah,
man, dude, I want to stay positive. Superman could use a win right now. I've seen some things that give me hope. I've seen some things that take away hope. I mean, I've seen a little bit of both. I like the actor that they have cast for Jimmy Olsen. He is great in The Righteous Gemstones, which is, if anyone has seen that, it's a show on HBO, and it's about like a megachurch pastor and his family, and it's very raunchy at times. A lot of male genitalia for no reason, just doesn't need to be there, but it'd just be like a man naked. It's hard to explain, but it's very funny. I don't recommend it if you don't have that.
What you're saying is it was made by a homosexual in Hollywood.
It was made by
probably.
I want to say the main guy doing it is the guy that plays Kenny Powers is in it. I think he's like the head writer and stuff too.
Yeah, very strange.
Yeah.
Other Paul, are you a movie critic? Or are you a comic book appreciator?
Much more movies than comic books. Actually, I can't even remember the last time I read a comic book. Period. Like, thinking about it, I don't think I've ever just bought one, like, ever at all. Never. It's always just been movies and shows, and a little more recently, fiction writing now as well as like reading them, but also writing a bit as well. But yeah, so movies, I'm definitely big into that. I don't really have high hopes for the new Superman or really any new superhero movies, just from not even with looking at any specifics, but just like, well, a little bit. I've seen the trailer, and then the guy looks like it's like they had Henry Cavill and now they don't. It's like literally
it's a downgrade.
Perfectly. So in any sense, almost anyone they would get would be a downgrade. But even just this guy is like, okay, it was always going to be a downgrade, but I don't think it even had to be that much of a downgrade. So there's that, and then just the overall thing, like who the director is, the vibe of popular Hollywood movie making, and the culture of it, all that stuff put together. It's just it's gonna be crap one way or another. It's gonna be. At best, there'll be some entertaining action, sure, but it's not going to be anything that's like actually good. It's going to suck one way or another. Yeah, I just don't have any hope for it. I don't have hope for most movies, except for the Passion of the Christ sequel. I am very hyped for that. Other than that, I'm hoping they're doing Sicario 3. I've heard they are, so I'm really, really gonna be the boys when that comes out. Other than that, don't really know much with the movies these days. The new Mission Impossible, I really enjoyed that. That was an awesome movie.
Speaking of Mission Impossible, I know there's a big push for I'm going to get his name wrong. Henry Cavill is the guy that played Superman, right? I got that right. For him to play James Bond. They want him to be the next James Bond, and I want him to be.
Oh, he has to be. He has to be.
Yeah. Who would be better?
Nobody.
Shaniqua.
No.
Who?
Shaniqua.
Oh, Shaniqua, stunning and brave. We need Shaniqua to be.
You know,
of course.
In the last James Bond movie, the last Daniel Craig one, who was the black chick, whatever, the horse, like, oh yeah, I'm a black female. I'm a black female. She didn't actually sound like she was more like, I'm a black female in it, bruv. And I'm like just as capable as you. In fact, look at me. I'm actually better than James Bond in all these things. And he looks totally stunted, but I'm still really cool and I got it together. Look at me. I'm a black woman in it, bruv. That's the next James Bond. So
yeah.
I remember when Daniel Craig first got cast as James Bond. I think I was in middle school. Like, it was a long, long time ago. And I was so hyped because at the time it was controversial because they're like, a blonde James Bond? Like, so it like all the headlines were like James Blonde, right? And I was hyped because, like, as a kid, I was like towhead blonde. And up until maybe after I graduated high school, my hair was still noticeably blonde. So I was very hyped about that. I thought the ones I've seen with Daniel Craig were all good. I haven't seen the one with is a black woman in it. I haven't seen that one, but I haven't seen that
the latest one.
Even in the first Daniel Craig, wasn't the Miss Moneypenny? Wasn't they made her a black girl in like his first one, I think. But
they did, but they didn't reveal that she was Moneypenny until like the
third movie.
One of the later ones, I don't know. I thought that whole series was fairly well done. I thought the way they explained some of the stuff and.
I mean, I'm a fan of the books. I read the books, and I read the books before I saw the movies, and then I watched the movies, and I realized they were nothing like the books, and I didn't appreciate them. And then along comes Casino Royale, and it's straight out of the book, and it's fantastic. I think Casino Royale holds up really well as an excellent movie, and it's because it follows, for the most part, the plot line of the book. It's a fantastic. But anyway, let's get back to these comments. Z says Christian Batman. That's Sean's next book.
We've already added Christian Batman. Christian Bale was Batman already.
That's true. What is it, man? If we want a good American superhero, we have to go find a British actor to play them.
I know. It's whack.
What are you guys talking about? You guys have already you've got Bible Man. That's Christian Batman right there.
Bible Man. Oh, man, I remember going through the Christian bookstore when I was a kid, and they would always have a TV playing, and it was either VeggieTales or Bible Man. And VeggieTales was fun when I was a little kid. But even when I was a little kid, I remember looking at Bible Man and just being like, what is this? Like, I'm going
to give a shout out real quick. This is another series that I read in Afghanistan. It's a limited series. It's called Irredeemable. By Mark Wade and Peter Krause. Don't have an early life check on those guys, but this is a good series.
Don't need it.
Yeah. It's essentially this is like the Superman type dude, and he goes rogue, but it's done in a really good way. I thought it was really cool. So he's basically like, I'm just going to be a bad guy now because I'm tired of people, and it's not done in a cheesy way. It's really good, but it's a limited series. These are all this is like a collection of multiple comics, but artwork is good. I liked it.
Looks neat.
Recommendation. It's by
very cool.
Boom, which I'm not super familiar with Boom Comics, but that's.
If I'm not mistaken, they've been around for a long time.
Yeah, probably.
If I'm remembering right.
It's a third party comic.
All right. Z says there's a growing opinion I've been seeing going around that holds that the Samson option won't happen because Israel doesn't have the guts for it. Maybe.
But they may have the spite.
That's right. Spite is a powerful motivator.
And but it is in the end like this stuff with the Samson option. In the end, it is like layers of speculation on top of speculation. So like that level of theorizing is like we're already at like extremely conjectural levels of stuff. So there's really just no point wasting time debating it other than just doing what we need to do to avoid bad stuff happening. Pretty much, it's just yeah.
I mean, I've seen the map where it's like this is the range of the Jericho 3 rocket that Israel has, and the heat map they have over the globe, and Texas and Australia are both outside of the range of that. Yeah, so when the bombs go off, we'll have Paul back on. We'll be chatting. We'll be like, so what's it like not being in range of Israel?
just like 95% of my online YouTube theology friends are just dead in the vaporized wave.
But we're okay. We made it.
I just start the post-apocalyptic live stream with, well, that just happened.
Yeah. Will you even need a clickbait title at that point?
I'll the total monopoly of the market, man.
Yeah, that's right. Z says it was a deterrent 40 or 50 years ago during the Cold War, but times have changed. That's the thing I'm seeing. Maybe, hopefully. I mean, I certainly hope nothing like that happens. Z, again, says when we were getting ready to deploy, people were letting their hair hang down, so to speak, and the refrain was, what are they going to do, not send me to Iraq?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like...
that's a good one.
You know, what is the punishment for this crime? You're already sending me to the Middle East to go die in a desert.
No. We have there's one that's worse. Good old, you guys know that Dave Portnoy guy and the yeah. No, he's like, I'm gonna send these kids to Auschwitz.
What I've heard is wasn't a bad place to be. You know, you were fed and clothed, and you had a job.
Yeah, swimming
hard
pool.
Hard to come by in a war.
Birthing unit.
Z says, does Paul know about any of the Aussie guys who make the sound? Oh, I lost it. Hang on. That make the rounds in nationalist circles like Tom Sewell and Blair Cottrell. It seems like the Overton window there is moving faster than here. I mean, Australia is a big place. Y'all got lots of population, and you're not all in Brisbane.
Okay, you say you say Australia is a big place, but how much of it is actually like habitable?
Well, the coastline, but it's still.
Yeah.
I mean, they still have a high
Yeah,
population.
it's like, well, Australia has a comparable population to like Texas alone or California alone, so it's actually just not that big compared to the United States. But I am familiar with those guys. Yeah, so they're pretty much a couple of the main actors in like Australian dissident right / white nationalist stuff. So there's them, Tom Sewell, Blake Cottrell, but also Joel Davis, another one of them, Jacob Hurstand. There's a few blokes there. Unfortunately, unlike in the United States, a lot of that movement is either not explicitly Christian or openly like pagan or some variant thereof. Those guys included. So Blake Cottrell, he's just not really a religious period. Tom Sewell he's not like a Hail Odin pagan, but he's kind of like of the National Socialist variant of guys that in the National Socialist Party. They weren't like Hail Odin, but they were like basically race as the religion, pretty much that kind of thing. He uses concepts like biospirit quite a bit, or the whole Vril thing, if you're aware of that. And then Joel Davis himself, unfortunately, he used to be a traditional Romanist or Roman Catholic, but more recently he's kind of left that, and I'm not sure what he is now. I think last I heard from him, he's pretty much aligning himself with like old Gnostic Christianity in light of like racialist categories, which is so it's kind of a mess there. And yet, unfortunately, they are a large chunk of the true vanguard here in Australia. So, yeah, they are making progress, and in the end, they're pushing for things that are good and need to happen, like mass remigration, like kicking a ton of people out, 100%. Unfortunately, their views on those other matters, which are quite important, are kind of suck, and so that will create a problem eventually, one day or another, even if they're successful.
Was Tom Sewell the guy who they were asking him? They're like, I don't know, it was like reporters. He's like, my plan is to just go have a farm and get away as far away from you people as I can, and about all your multiculturalism.
My plan is to just get a farm and get as far away from you crazy people as possible, and leave you to your sodomy and craziness.
That wasn't bad. That was actually not too bad. That was pretty decent. But Sewell has his Aussie accent slightly different. But I don't know. I don't know if I've seen all this stuff, so maybe he did say that, but I'm just not aware of it. But I do know
whoever it was is a great quote.
He is part of a group where they are trying to basically do something like that, like start a white Australian Orania somewhere in Victoria, I think. He's part of a community that's oriented that way. So.
All right, let's see what else we got here. I like showing the comments. I know Jeff is lazy, just wants to read them, but I'll show them. Jaded Geek is these next couple comics. This is very jaded and very geeky. So here we go. The new Superman movie is going to be another flopbuster. Superman is an archetype, an icon, and this movie is going to be a discount Guardians of the Galaxy guest starring Superman. That is very negative. Superman wouldn't want all that negative energy, so I think that I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to go to theaters. I'm going to watch it. I see very few movies these days, and that's going to be one of them.
Imagine if the Superman franchise and like movie film technology advanced far enough, like as early as possible, in the time when Hollywood wasn't subverted. And you ended up having like a modern style, modern quality Superman movies, but it's Superman trying to break up the civil rights protests.
Yeah, that'd be cool. They had, I know they had planned in the '90s like Tim Burton was going to be doing a Death of Superman type movie because, man, dude, 1994, that was like all anyone wanted to talk about. I mean, it was such a big deal, the Death of Superman. It was good. I mean, it's a great series, but I mean, at some point, you got to move on. I mean, he died, came back. Spoilers. Let's see what else we got. Jaded Geek, more jaded geekdom. The Daniel Craig movies made Bond full of self-doubt. I quit watching the films because of him. Man, dude, you're just negative, bro. That's negative energy.
I mean, yeah, negative but fair. I mean, it was this whole post Western greatness. Woe is me. I'm such a bad person. A lot of self-flagellation stuff. So, I mean,
let me defend this though. Let me bring some sunshine into this doom and gloom that Jaded Geek has brought into it. He was full of self-doubt because he was new. He was new at all. That was the whole point. This is essentially like a prequel series. Casino Royale is the first of the books, and is also supposed to be chronologically the first of the movies. That's the idea. And so the fact that spoilers, guys, the fact that the woman that he was all hot for, like, betrays him and then like dies, and that's why that's explaining why in the future he's like disconnected from the women that he gets freaky with. So I understand what you're saying with like, oh, there's like self-doubt, but that's why he needs his liquid courage, is because he suffers with self-doubt. So he just gets sauced all the time and shoots people.
How the great have fallen since Sean Connery, that absolute legend back in the day. Just the suave womanizer, probably racist.
He used to slap women in real life and on screen.
in Minecraft, right?
Yeah,
in real life.
Yeah.
Sean Connery's James Bond today, just looking at what they're doing right now. He'd just be sitting there back on the couch with a cigar, and he'd just be thinking like, why is she black?
That was great because you actually like froze there for a bit, and then like as soon as you like, so it was quite a pause. You were ripping on that cigar for a bit, yeah.
Yeah. No, Sean Connery, the interviews that he gave later in life were just world class. I remember that one interview with a woman journalist where she's asking him about his comments about slapping women, and he's just sitting there, just absolutely not repenting of anything. He's like, "Well, I think she probably wants one. She's probably asking for it." It's like, I mean, don't condone that for obvious reasons, but the way that he didn't back down was quite hilarious.
That is great.
Just as a statistical fact, she probably wanted to sleep with him after that interview. Let's be real.
Women are into some weird stuff, man. My wife does not, thank God, read all these book talk books that I hear so much about, but it's like they're actually really into abuse. That seems to be a thing that's very strange. You get rid of all of the masculine men in society, and women start looking for abusers to shack up with, and it's very strange. I think what's going on is they're looking for structure, and that's just about the only solid structure that they can get in a house, is a man who can put her in her place, is a man who's going to give her an absolute walloping. And nature abhors a vacuum is all that I'm going to say, and very unfortunate, but it does seem to be the way things are going. The Jada Geek says, on British actors, I laying American superheroes, I think he's saying playing American superheroes, as much as a crap lib as he is, Chris Evans had a great run as Captain America. The first Captain America movie is a fantastic movie. I'm not
Winter Soldier as well. I loved Winter Soldier. I don't know what you guys, the movie Captain America Winter Soldier.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I think Red Skull is an underrated villain. In the comics, he's just absolutely incredible. In the movie, he's portrayed very well. Unfortunately, the actor who played him hated it and didn't want to come back, and so that was that. But the first Captain America movie, beautiful, full of Americana, full of patriotism. Watch that movie, and it'll make you want to go die for Israel. Thaddeus Johnson, can we just make it a Father's Day tradition to have Paul on every year? Well, we can do that, but he'll have to have a kid.
Yeah.
That's true. I'm well. Pray for me. Pray for me right now, boys. I'm in talks. I'll say no more than that. So yeah.
All right.
Oh, the automated transaction machine. That was the.
I won't lie. It's let's just say I'm Anglican. She's not. So, and she's principally not. So,
Okay.
so I'm trying to say, look, please become Anglican.
Which version of not Anglican are we talking?
Yeah. Some bridges are easier to cross.
I don't want to get too just not Anglican, and in such a way that certain Anglican distinctives are problematic. But I'm trying to demonstrate why they are not. So,
all right. Well. All right. Last comment we've got on here right now is Z says, aside from their intended message, is it better for the star to be a happy womanizing drunk or a sad womanizing drunk?
You got to get into the psychology of the thing. You know, you can't just be loosey goosey. Sometimes you got to suffer some consequences and think about what you've done, and then you just get right back on the horse again and make more bad decisions. I mean, that's.
Yeah, I don't remember which book it is, but one of the Bond books starts with him going off to a health clinic, and he finds the spy at the health clinic, and that's in the movies. That's the scene where he's on like this massage machine, and the guy's, this gloved hand comes and cranks the dial up to 11, and it like almost breaks his back. And but in the book, a very fun situation. He gets onto the case by finding this guy. And the reason he was at this health clinic is just because he was feeling kind of down and morose and sad. And so he went off to this health clinic that his boss had found. And he went there and he started eating like unsweetened yogurt with uncooked oatmeal. And he stopped smoking. And then, he's feeling himself again. He's feeling so, and then all of a sudden the mission comes in, and he's at his boss's desk, and his boss, who was at this health clinic as well, passes over the box of cigarettes, and he starts ripping cigarettes and smoking again. And he's like, I'm on the case again. I feel like a man again. It's like, it was a great scene, because it's like you feel the pussification, as it were, the pusillanimification, by the way. That is not a bad word. You see the pussification of Bond and how he's being turned into a woman by going to these health clinics up in the country in middle England. And then, once he's back on the case, he's back to, smoking cigarettes and driving his fast car and drinking alcohol. And you really feel the vibe shift. It was very well done. One of the greatest all-time writers, I think. But fun book. Is it better for him to be morose or gallivanting, or to be a happy womanizing drunk? In the books, it's much. Let me just say, the books are less degenerate than the movies. They're still written by a British guy, so they're kind of a little bit degenerate. But I'd say the Bond books hold up for young adult fiction. I recommend them.
So have you read? So this is saying that Google is saying it's 14 books in the series. Does that sound about right? That sounds
about right. Yeah, I think I've read them all.
Are they like particularly long? Or are they short? Like what?
They're novels, so they're like 200, 300 pages. They're not. They're not tomes.
Yeah.
But you can read them over a weekend if you want to. I listen to them on audio while I'm driving my truck around, and I think they're fun. It's adventure. It's adventure.
I can greatly attest to the masculinization of just ripping a heater once in a while. This was me actually just over the weekend. I was in country Australia, visiting some mates, and this was me just in nature, just having a good vibe. It's certainly it is maximally and with my earphones there, I was just listening to the Skyrim soundtrack in the middle of nature. It's like there's nothing like it. Absolutely nothing like it.
Lord of the Rings soundtrack, good for that too. Da, 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 da.
I'm looking at this is a picture of, I guess, a bunch of the James Bond books, all the titles I know as James Bond movies. So apparently
Mhm.
they're all more or less been done in movie form, and now they're just coming up with inserting black women into loudly, may I say,
Yeah.
black women into male spaces.
Yeah, I think all of the books have been made into movies, so it's a real weird situation with the rights, because when the person who originally made all the Bond movies, he purchased the rights to the character's name and the names of the books, but not actually the content of the books. So I've told people for a long time, Moonraker, in my opinion, holds the title for the best Bond book while simultaneously also being the worst Bond film. It's the film is just very, very cringy. The space battle is so dumb, whereas the book has nothing at all to do with the movie and is a fantastic espionage thriller. So if you're wanting to just pick it up, read one, see if it's for you. Moonraker, I'd recommend as the one to pick up. They're really, all of them are quite excellent, but that's the one I'd say to grab.
Do we have
All
anyone
right.
else who wants to jump back on? I know we had some guys that were a little disappointed that we cut them off. We had quite a line going for a bit.
That is good timing because I need to hit it. I need to get on with my day, get some work happening. But it was great finally coming on, gentlemen.
Yeah. Yeah, Paul, it was fun to have you on. We're going to have to do this again with just you as a guest, because I know that you're a history buff, especially when it comes to church history and the Crusades. Maybe we should have something about the Crusades. We'd love to have you on for that.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not the one for the Crusades specifically. That's definitely not my area of historical research.
Is that right?
I've got a Romanist YouTuber friend who's really, really good into that. So if you want to have him on sometime, I can hook you guys up. His name's Alan Rule, ALAN or ALLANRUHL. He's a great bloke. He's mad into the Crusades, but other areas of history, Christian philosophy, and a connoisseur of the Wikipedia article of racial slurs. I'm 100% down for all that.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right. Well, we'll definitely have to have you on. Thanks for stopping by. It has been an absolute joy to have you, man.
God bless you guys. Catches.
Yeah. See you.
Good night. All right. Well, it looks like we don't have any more guests, and it looks like our comments have run out. We've been going for about 2 hours and 17 minutes here. But thanks to everybody who stopped by. We had a fun kind of a rambling thing. I think we should do this every Father's Day. Just have a call-in show.
It was like the whole episode was the end of the episode. Because at the end of every episode, we just kind of do that, where it's like, oh yeah, I kind of wanted to throw this random thing in there, and
yeah. It was kind of like it's open line Friday for except on Sunday, but yeah.
So the original, for those who don't know, the original reason that we wanted to do this was that we were not 100% sure that you, Jeff, were even going to be able to be on the show today, and so. Yeah. The backup plan was, well, if I do it by myself, maybe I can have some people jump in and do some ranting or
ranting and raving,
yeah. Do whatever.
No, it was fun. Yeah, we weren't sure when my wife was going to have the baby. She was supposed to have it Wednesday, but Monday it was looking like the baby was going to be here, and then it, Wednesday rolled around, baby still wasn't here, but Friday morning, bright and early, she made her presence known and welcomed her into the world. It's such a weird feeling, because it's like, intellectually, I know there's a baby in there. Right?
Yeah.
My wife is big pregnant. I know there's a baby, but it's like the moment the baby is born and I'm looking into her eyes and she's looking up at me and she's smiling and she's happy, it's like it hits home in a different kind of a way. And very, very cool. I mean, the miracle of life is just that. It's a miracle. And nothing like it in the world. we've done home births for all 5 of our kids. All 5 of my children have been born in this house. And I was, as my wife was going through labor, and I was holding her hand and helping hold her up as the baby was coming. And I was thinking the whole time, man, I'm glad I'm not a woman. I'm pretty sure I'd rather die in battle 10 times than have a baby once. So it's a real sacrifice that women go through to have a child, and it's admirable. It's the most amazing thing a woman can do, is to have children, and it's how we all got here. Every single person who's within hearing of this podcast, you were born one day, and your mother went through excruciating pain to bring you into the world, and you should be thankful for that. And your dad, this is Father's Day, so we'll rep the dads a little bit. Your dad set the stage for that. As long as he didn't just pop one in and bounce, he's the one who provided for your mom. He's the one who provided a home, and that's the world you were born into, and it's an important thing. It's something not to be taken for granted, not something to be held cheaply.
Yeah, I don't want to completely undermine what you just said, but for me, it was so when my daughter was born, it wasn't like this really joyous occasion. It was like really hectic. So she was born, but I was going to, I guess, cut the cord or something like that. I was going to be involved at some, I don't remember the exact details. But she was born with the cord wrapped around her neck.
Ooh.
And the nurses were very actually, you know what, get out of the way. And I was like, okay, hands off. I'm, you know what I mean? I don't want to be that guy. It's like, no, it's my baby. Let me get in the way. So it was very hands off, and they did their thing, and they had to do whatever suction thing, and okay, she's breathing, okay, cool. And then they put her on my wife, and my wife lost consciousness at some, she basically went out, she had lost some blood or something like that happened. And so they were like, all right, Dad, it's going to you. So I took my shirt off because I was told, they want skin to skin for a bit. So I did that. So I'm sitting there with her, and they're like, all right, feed her this because my wife is out. So it was just it was all very hectic. It was the exact opposite of what I expected to experience.
It was your first kid too. So you're like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah. And they were just they were like, all right, it's yours. And I'm like,
I don't know what to do.
I don't have the keys to this thing. What are you doing?
I don't know how to drive this car.
Yeah. But then when my son was born, it was the complete opposite. He was born on Christmas Eve, and it was really we went in there and she had him, and I'm like, are you good? Because you kind of died for a bit the first one. She's like, oh, I'm good. Let's go. I'm ready to go. So it was basically we had the kid, and then it was all right, buddy, let's go home. It's Christmas. Because it was the next day we were out of the hospital. But with my daughter, we were there for multiple days. It was a whole thing that they had to check. The nurse had to sign off and make sure that it was a whole crazy thing. But like I said, with my son, it was all right, we're going to take a picture of you under the Christmas tree because it's Christmas. And it was we just hit the ground running. And then he was, because we're Lutheran, he was baptized that next Sunday, which was really cool.
Don't let the grass grow under your feet.
Yeah, because the next that next Sunday was, I forget the exact name, but on the church calendar, it's I want to say
it's the last day of Advent, or
no, it's the consecration. It's basically his circumcision. It's Jesus' circumcision, but I want to say it's named after the guy. I want to say it's Simon something. There's an old
the guy who is in the temple.
Yeah, the guy that's really excited and picks him up and all that.
Yeah, I believe that's Simon.
And I want to say that day is named after him because that's the major story of it. But anyways, it was just cool because, and then, like he's mentioned during the sermon, he's like, well, if you want to know like how big Jesus probably was, like during like how newborn he was, that's what baby we just baptized. That's how small he was. So yeah, all that to say, when my son was born, it was like, all right, cool, let's go. It wasn't like some like, whoa, this is crazy. Like it was like, all right, that's about. He has a cleft palate and lip, and so we were kind of like, that's not as bad as we thought it was. All right, let's go. And so I guess I didn't feel the same sparks that you did, but I love him. It's still cool. Like you're silent right now. Are you silent or am I silent? I think.
It is me. I'm sorry. I could hear you. I could hear you, but I had my microphone muted. I did not do it in the software side. I did it in the hardware side. All of that notwithstanding, your son's a very handsome guy. Nose and lip notwithstanding. I think, if I were to have a child who's got facial features that are not envious, I'd rather it happen to a son than a daughter.
Yeah, that was kind of my thinking too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a good looking kid, and he'll go far.
He makes too much of a mess on Sundays because we got to bring the snacks. He's only 2 years old,
mm-hmm.
So we got to bring the snacks into the sanctuary, which I hate doing. But he made a mess today, and I had to like grab the broom. I mean, I guess I didn't have to, but I did. Like I went into the closet and grabbed the broom and the dustpan, and I'm cleaning up. And Pastor was like, "Did you make a mess back there?"
It wasn't me. It was my boy.
Yeah, blame the
kid. Definitely. I hate bananas, and when it comes to kids' snacks, it's like bananas are the worst. You give a kid a little bit of banana, and you will find it a year later stuck to the bottom of a car seat, and you'll be wondering, how in the world did it get there? You're not even allowed to have bananas in the car. How did this happen? So, dry Cheerios for the win.
My big thing that my son does right now is he'll go up and like point like he wants the banana. I'm like, do you want the banana? Yeah. Okay. So I'll go get it, peel it, whatever. I peel it. What they call it backwards, but it's the way the monkeys do it, where they pinch
from the bottom. Yeah.
Yeah. That's how I do it. So I take the black part off right away, and then I've started giving them half of it. Like I eat the first half of it. And, I'm like, okay, here's a banana. No.
Oh, no. He changed his mind.
What do you mean, no? Like, you asked for this. I'll just, like, get mean with it, like, show it his face. Like, here, eat it. You want it? No.
You asked for this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kids, man. It's an adventure. All right. Well, we have been going for an hour and a half, or just about.
No, 2.5 hours.
Or 2.5. Sorry. It's been a night, and it's been a good show. Had some fun. So been cool to have some guys hop in and chat. But Sean, thanks as always for being here. I'm glad I was able to be here because it did look like I wasn't going to be able to be here for a while, but God timed everything just right. So anyway, to those of you who have been watching for a while, we appreciate you stopping by. Hope this has been an encouragement for you. And go to bed, because tomorrow is the day that God has prepared good works for you to do in. And you need some sleep to get those done right. So it is a late night show for some. It is past my bedtime, and I need to go to bed because I will be going to work in the morning, new baby notwithstanding. So anyhow, hope you all have a wonderful night, and farewell.